When President Nixon ran for re-election in 1972, his popularity was never higher. The most famous Cold Warrior of his era had earned acclaim for his diplomatic breakthroughs with China and the Soviet Union. Despite bitter controversy over his handling of the war in Vietnam, the polls showed Nixon easily defeating his Democratic challenger. But Nixon's political skills were no match for his paranoia. In hopes of gaining an upper hand, Nixon's underlings hatched a scheme to burglarize the Democratic headquarters at the Watergate Hotel in June of 1972. When the burglars were arrested, Nixon approved a cover-up, which slowly but surely came unraveled.
Watergate, Senate hearings. To ensure complete live nationwide coverage of the Senate Watergate hearings, the three commercial television networks are rotating the daily coverage.
I began by telling the president that there was a cancer growing on the presidency, and if the cancer was not removed, the president himself would be killed by it.
By the spring of 1974, the Watergate affair was a full-blown scandal, as televised congressional hearings gradually uncovered the cover-up.
Mr. Butterfield, are you aware of the installation of any listening devices in the Oval Office of the President?
I was aware of listening devices. Yes, sir.
Are you aware of the installation of any devices on any of the telephones, first of all, the Oval Office?
Yes, sir.
Now, the tapes which you mentioned, which are stored, are they stored by particular date?
Yes, sir, they are.
And so that if either Mr. Dean, Mr. Haldeman, Mr. Ehrlichman, Mr. Colson had particular meetings in the Oval Office with the President on any particular dates that had been testified before this committee, there would be a tape recording with the President of that full conversation, would there not?
Yes, sir.
Nixon claimed that the tapes were designed to secure his place in history. Instead, they sealed his fate. On August 8, 1974, Nixon delivered his farewell address to the nation.
Good evening. This is the 37th time I have spoken to you from this office, where so many decisions have been made that shape the history of this nation. Throughout the long and difficult period of Watergate, I have felt it was my duty to persevere, to make every possible effort to complete the term of office to which you elected me. In the past few days, however, it has become evident to me that I no longer have a strong enough political base in the Congress to justify continuing that effort. I have never been a quitter. To leave office before my term is completed is abhorrent to every instinct in my body. But as president, I must put the interests of America first. Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow. Vice President Ford will be sworn in as president at that hour in this office.
The next morning, Nixon made a final White House appearance.
Steve Bowe came up to brief us on the entrance into the grand ballroom, where we were to say goodbye to the official administration people, the cabinet and all the other top people in administration, about 300 of them. And then he said, now the 3 television cameras will be here. And Mrs. Nixon said, not on your life. She said, after what they have done to us, I am not going to let them interfere in this last private meeting with our friends. Well, I had to disagree, and I said, no, we have to do it. We've got to do it for our friends. We've got to do it for the country.
Then at noon, August 9, 1974, Richard Nixon boarded a helicopter to make history one last time as the only U.S. president to resign his office. Back in 1952, Richard Nixon's checker speech harnessed the power of television to save his career. 22 years later, television was there to chronicle his political self-destruction.